Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Facebook Live. We're trying something new this week, and hopefully it works because I am coming to you from Kathmandu. So this week is going to be we're going to look at a Nepal special this week. So we're going to really cover Nepal. But obviously we are still able to answer any questions that you have. But hopefully this works because we've never tried this before where I'm not sat in my office. And it is currently 11:24 in Nepal. So hopefully you can hear me and everything is going okay. If you are watching, please put say in the comments that you're watching so we know that there are some people watching us. It'd be great to know who's watching around. We're going out on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. So if you are watching, please put a hello in the comments and let us know, because it would be great to know that you're watching. So Kathmandu at the minute is very crazy because it is currently Diwali. So everything is completely manic, and obviously we are 4 hours 45 ahead of you, time difference. So the party is currently just starting in Nepal, which is if you can plan your trip around Diwali, then it is really worthwhile doing. So obviously it's been a bit of an accident this week that has happened, because this trip was planned 2 years ago. But the last 2 times I've been to Nepal have both been over Diwali, which has been amazing. So I'm on my own because Dave's not here this week, because Dave is currently flying back from Kathmandu as we speak. Dave has been out leading an Everest base camp trek, and if you watch that video in the preview, you'll have seen what the scenery and everything looks like on an Annapurna base camp, Annapurna circuit trek, which is what Dave's doing. I'm just about to lead an Annapurna base camp trek, and I'm heading out with my group tomorrow. And then in the last couple of days, we've had a group arrive back from, like I say, Dave from the Annapurna circuit and an Annapurna base camp. And we've got a Gokyo Lakes Everest base camp and an Island Peak group all out in Nepal at the minute. And at the same time, we've got a Toop Cow group out in Morocco as well. So things are really busy for us at the minute. Hello, Lindsay Allen, from a rainy Liverpool, and you can hear me fine. So that's great to know. And sorry about Liverpool losing the other day. I'm really, really sorry about that, as you will appreciate as a Tottenham fan, but we lost as well. So the idea today is that I'm going to answer any questions about Nepal. So if you've got any questions regarding any of our Nepal trips, then please add them to the comments now, and I will more than happily answer them. But at the same time, if you've got any questions on any of our other trips as well, then I will, of course, answer those. But, you know, October is always a busy month for us. Nepal season is kick-started. We tend to find that October is filled with our Nepal trips. And we generally have a lot of trips to Nepal because it is the prime season for trekking in Nepal at the minute. So that's why we've got so many trips happening. The trip I'm leading tomorrow is our first trip out to the Annapurna base camp trek. We've done lots of Annapurna circuit treks, but we've never actually done an Annapurna base camp trek. So this is the first one that we're doing. This is one of our trailblazer trips. And if, you know, in fact, I'll explain what a trailblazer trip is. So our trailblazer trips are the first time we've ever done them. We offer these trips at a real discount. And we advertise these trips out to people on our Trailblazer list. So it's a chance for you to come along and see what our Trailblazer trips are all about. And like I said, you get a nice discount from it. And Tom is back in the UK at the minute, and I'm sure in a second he will pop a link up to our Trailblazer trips that are happening. So you can sign up, and then if there's any trips that take your fancy, you will then get a discount on the first time it ever happens, because you kind of act as our guinea pigs, if you like. So you come along and see what those trips are like. There we are. Look, Tom's straight on it, and he's just literally put a link into the group. So if you have never heard of our Trailblazer list before, you can click on that link, add yourself to it, and then whenever we're launching a new destination, you get informed about it, and you can get to come on the first trip for a discounted price. So like I say, this is our first Annapurna base camp trek that I'm leading. And we're looking forward to heading out tomorrow. So we arrived yesterday, and we're in Kathmandu at the minute. And with Diwali being on, Kathmandu is just properly mental at the minute. The celebrations are happening, and it's a really, really fun place to be when you're here. So the last time I was here was our Trailblazer Best of Nepal trip. And that was over Diwali as well. So I've done double Diwali over the last few years. What's happened in the last couple of weeks at the Bucket List Company? Like I said, we've had lots of trips out. We've had more Kilimanjaro summits. We've had, since I was last chatting to you with Dave a month ago, we've got, like I say, we've got a Toubkal trek out at the minute. There's a big group out in Toubkal. We've got a Everest Base Camp and an Everest Base Camp Gokyo Lakes trek happening at the minute. I reckon they're probably a day away from base camp. They should literally be coming to base camp either tomorrow or the following day. Our EBC Island Peak group, I saw their write-up today, and they've reached base camp today. So they go to base camp first, and then they come back to Island Peak to have a summit attempt at Island Peak. So they've hit base camp today, which is great news for them from their acclimatization perspective. So like I said, October is really a Nepal month for us. Nepal trekking seasons are either in the spring, so you're looking at kind of April, May, early June, and then you're looking at kind of October into the beginning of November. So our other trips kind of take a back seat a little bit in October because we have so many trips that are heading out to Nepal. Like I say, I arrived yesterday. And I've seen our Annapurna Base Camp group. I've seen our EBC group that have flown back yesterday. We've got people heading out to Chitwan, and then, like I say, we've got other groups that are out there as well, and we've got more groups coming out towards the month. So if you're looking at doing an Everest Base Camp, an Everest Base Camp, Gokyo Lakes, Island Peak, an Annapurna circuit or an Annapurna base camp, then October is the perfect month to go and do those. It's a lot quieter. As I always say, it depends when, especially for Everest Base Camp. If you want to go to Everest Base Camp and you want to see base camp in its fullest with the people on the mountain, then you want to be heading out in May time, because that's when people are summiting Everest. But if you want the more quieter times, then October is the perfect time to come out for those trips. Silas has just dropping by to say hi as always. Hope everyone is well. Silas, everyone is well, because we are in sunny Kathmandu, obviously, apart from Dave, who is currently on an Emirates flight back to the UK, but he should be back pretty soon, I imagine. But Kathmandu is sunny. The weather is shining. It's actually really hot in Kathmandu at the minute. It was like 29 degrees today, which, coming from the UK 2 days ago with rain and cold, and arriving in Kathmandu to this weather is very nice. Hopefully it will continue on the trek. But if anyone follows our social media, and Tom, if you want to put a link up to our Facebook page, because there are lots of updates coming on the Facebook page at the minute. If you don't follow us on Facebook, then you should do, because there's been some amazing photos from the groups. And that's what we're all about, is group travel and blue skies. And the weather in Nepal over the last couple of weeks is literally just been amazing. And touch wood, I'm touching wood right next to me now. But we've had no issues with flights for Everest Base Camp groups. They've all gone so well this year. Everyone's flown out when they should have flown out, which is amazing. We haven't had any helicopter issues. And I know if you followed us and listened to the podcast over the last couple of years, then especially last October, there was lots of delays with flights from Ramchap. And there's obviously, if you've been listening, you'll understand that you now have to travel to Ramchap to fly to Lukla. There's a great podcast episode on that as well. But we've had no issues this year. Everyone's flown on time. Everyone's arrived on time. Everyone's come back on time. So Silas has said, I shall provoke some conversation, Keith. What is your bucket list trip? So as I said, I am doing our Trailblazer Annapurna Base Camp trek. Now, the idea of the Annapurna Base Camp trek is you don't go to such a high altitude. So on Annapurna Base Camp, you just reach just over 4,100 meters. So obviously Everest Base Camp, Annapurna Circuit, you're at about 5,400 meters. So if you're worried about altitude, then Annapurna Base Camp hits that mark. But also the Annapurna Base Camp trip is also a lot shorter compared to a lot of trips in Nepal. So, for example, Everest Base Camp's 17 to 18 day trip, same as Annapurna Circuit trek. Gokyo Lakes in EBC is 21 day trip, whereas the Annapurna Base Camp trip is coming in at about 15 days, depending on your flights. So that's why Annapurna Base Camp, if you want to come trekking in Nepal and you're not thinking about wanting to get to high altitude and want to see amazing mountains, then this is the trip for you. Silas is watching because he keeps commenting. Apologies. I mean, what is the one trip that's on your bucket list that you haven't done yet? Oh my God, that's Antarctica, probably. I think that's the one that I really want to get done, is Antarctica. I've done quite a lot of the continents. I think that I like going to destinations that are not overly populated. And I know there's a lot of talk at the minute of whether Antarctica, there's over tourism in Antarctica or not. But I think that's the one that I'd really love to tick off for me is Antarctica. There's a few other places as well. I'm heading out to Ecuador and Galapagos next year. I've been to Ecuador before, but only briefly, so I'm going to explore it more. So I'm really excited about that. And then the other one that I haven't been to that I really love, and we're looking to get a trip there fairly soon, is Japan. That's another destination that I would really like to visit. Tom's just posted links up to the podcast and talking about the Lukla flights. So if you haven't listened to the podcast yet, don't know about the podcast, head over there. There's lots of episodes where we talk about Nepal on those as well. Candice is giving a wave. She's watching us on Instagram. Candice is currently out in Nepal with us at the minute, so she's obviously watching before we head off in the morning. And we've got a very early start of 6 a.m. So my bags are not quite packed yet. So after I finish this, that's going to be my job to get my bags packed for the morning, so we can head off and down to Pokhara. And we're driving. It's about a 6-7 hour drive down to Pokhara tomorrow. And that's the thing with Nepalese roads. And I always say this to people, is you've got to kind of add lots of time on to, the journey from Kathmandu to Pokhara is about 200 kilometers. So if you think about that in the UK, you could probably, if you were on the motorway, you'd knock that out in an hour and 40 minutes, 2 hours maximum. But that drive tomorrow with Nepalese roads is about 7 hours. So that's our job tomorrow, to get down to Pokhara, check into the hotel, and then the following day we start our Annapurna Base Camp trek. And I'm really looking forward to getting on that trail and taking some photos and showing you guys what it looks like. Like I said, if you don't follow our Facebook group, like, there's been some amazing photos from Dave's group that have just done the Annapurna circuit trek. They had amazing weather. Jack's currently on the EBC Gokyo trip, and they've, the pictures that have been posted today on there from their trip, and the blue skies and the mountains have been amazing. So hopefully, if coming trekking to Nepal is on your bucket list, we have so many trips available for you to go and have a look at, and there's lots of different reasons for doing each one. So I always say to people, don't just think I have to come to Nepal and trek Everest Base Camp. There are reasons for doing the Annapurna circuit trek. There are reasons for doing the Annapurna Base Camp trek, and it really depends on what you want to do and the reasons why you want to come to Nepal. But and I say to people, if you want to go to Everest Base Camp, then obviously you need to do the Everest Base Camp trek because you want to get to base camp. But if you just want to go trekking in Nepal and seeing mountains, there are so many other options. There's the Langtang trek. There's Everest Base Camp, Gokyo Lakes, so you come back a different way. If you want to climb a mountain, there's Mira Peak, there's Island Peak, and then obviously we've also got the Annapurna circuit trek, and we've also got Annapurna Base Camp. So you've got lots of choice there. And Tom has just put a link into the comments with all of our different treks in Nepal. So please go and check them out and see which ones would suit you, because they are all very different. And they all have a different purpose. There's different durations, and I know a lot of people struggle with getting the time off, because if you're coming to Nepal, it's never a quick trip. You can't come and do a Nepal trip in 7 days and have a week's holiday. You need to be out here for at least 2 weeks to come trekking in Nepal. So please do bear that in mind. If there are any questions you've got on any of our trips, it doesn't have to be Nepal based. Please do put them in the comments. Ollie's just asked me, which country do you want to go to most that you haven't been to? Obviously, like I said just a minute ago, Antarctica's high up on my list, and so's Japan. Those are the two countries that I'd really love to go and explore. Like I said, we're looking at developing a Japan trip, because I think it's just an amazing country and has so many opportunities for adventure travel as well. And then Antarctica as well, for the wildlife and everything else. And just to say that I've hit that 7th continent is well on my bucket list. So that's the two destinations, Ollie, that I would love to head to in the very near future. Like I said, if you've got any questions, please add them in the comments. The whole point of this half an hour is to answer your questions and give me the opportunity to kind of try and okay, Ollie, Antarctica isn't a country, you're right, but there isn't many countries in Antarctica. So I would love to go to Antarctica, the continent, and tick that one off my list. But yeah, Japan is another one that I'd really love to head to as well. That would be amazing to head to Japan. And like I say, that one should hopefully be coming onto our list of places very, very soon. And then Bhutan is also on my list, and we've got a Bhutan trip. We start that one in 2027. I'm super excited to head to Bhutan. We've got a couple of big groups heading out there. That's always been on my bucket list. Obviously, coming to Nepal, visiting the Himalayas, and understanding about Bhutan and the difficulty to get there is high been on my list of where I want to go. Sorry, I've got a really sore throat and I keep needing to drink. Lindsay's just put 1 week in the Himalayas wouldn't be anywhere near enough. You've traveled all that way and you need to make the most of it. Yeah, exactly, Lindsay. And unfortunately, most of the treks in Nepal you cannot do within a week. Like I said, we left on Sunday. I left Devon at lunchtime and I arrived in Kathmandu at 7 o'clock on Monday evening. So, bearing in mind, I've got that to do on the way home as well. If you're only coming for a very short time, you wouldn't have a lot of time to explore in Nepal. So yeah, you really do need to have, the majority of the treks in Nepal are at least kind of 14, 15 days. So any trip in Nepal is going to be around about 16, 17 days for a standard trip in Nepal if you want to come. But obviously it gives you great time to acclimatize. And you're not doing massive altitude gains on the treks every day. So Nepal is a great option to do some high level trekking when you're hitting those kind of 5,500 meter treks. Like I said, Dave's just finished an Annapurna circuit trek. That's the highest pass in the world, up to 5,400 meters. And they've had the most amazing trip, and the weather has been absolutely amazing for them. Someone's just asked on Instagram, what about Pakistan? Obviously, we already do. If you want to come to the Himalayas, then we go to Pakistan. We already do our K2 base camp trek. We had a great trip out there this year. We only do one a year during July, peak season for K2 base camp. And Jemima led that trip, and again, if you've listened to the podcast from Jemima, she gives it a really great review of why you should add K2 base camp to your bucket lists as well. So yeah, we do Pakistan, we do Nepal, we do the India Himalaya trip. And we've also got Bhutan happening in 2027. So we've pretty much covered the Himalayas there. Whatever your choice is in the Himalayas, you can look at heading out and doing it there. Sorry, my phone just fell off because I'm following Instagram on my phone. Tom's just put a link up if you haven't listened to it, to that K2 base camp podcast, because that was a really great episode where Jemima was so enthusiastic about heading out to K2 base camp and the reasons why you should do it. Apart from Belize and Guatemala, where else in North America would you like to go? Oh God, that's a difficult question, that one. I mean, America is a great country, and the reason why we're struggling to put a trip to America is because we are the bucket list company, and we want people to tick off things for their bucket lists. But unfortunately, I think so many people have got different things in America on their bucket list that it would be very difficult for us to put a trip on. People want to go to the Rockies, people want to go to the Grand Canyon, people want to go to Las Vegas, people want to go to Nashville. Like, there is so many different things people want to do in America, and I think it's really difficult for us to kind of culminate that in bucket list trips. So from that perspective, it's difficult to kind of some destinations. It's like people always say to us, why don't you do a trip to Australia? Well, how can we plan a bucket list trip in Australia where it's kind of within people's annual leave allowance? Because you would really need to cover everything. You'd have to tick off so much, and it would take so long to do it that we couldn't fit it into a very short trip. So that's why, when we look at our best of trips, we are concentrating on places like Belize and Guatemala, where we can do it in a short period of time. We're doing it in Mexico, we're doing it in Thailand, we're doing it in Vietnam and Cambodia, because we can fit all the best parts in a very short period. But Costa Rica, we've got that on the bucket list now. There are places in the Caribbean, North America that we're adding, but the whole of North America is such a big destination that it's very difficult for us to create that bucket list destination and tick all those things off. So, I mean, we are currently looking at a Grand Canyon trip, maybe with a few extensions that people can bolt onto it and how that could fit in. But like I say, it's such a big country that you'd need so much time to really tick off those things that it's really hard. So yeah, that's where we are with North America at the minute. But we're super looking forward to Belize and Guatemala. I can't wait to head out there and run a trip out there. And I cannot wait to go and scuba dive the Blue Hole. That's been on my bucket list for a long time, so I'm really looking forward to that. I think we've pretty much covered off all the questions that have been asked so far. Like I say, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the comments. If we don't get round to them, or if you're watching this and it's not live and you're kind of watching it on catch up, please do still add your questions to the comments, because one of the team will come around and answer them for you. We do still keep an eye on it. So if you're watching this at a later date and you suddenly want to ask something, don't think, oh, it's not live anymore, because one of the team will come and get back to you. But if there are no other comments or no other questions in the feed, I'm going to we've done 29 minutes, so I'm going to start to bring this one to a close. I will be back again, hopefully with Dave next month, although we need to work out dates, because Dave is heading off to the Sahara Desert Trek next month. So we need to make sure that we're both available to do it. But hopefully Dave will be on with me and I'm not sat here doing it on my own again. But if like I say, if there are no other questions, I will be back next month with another Q&A session. And I will give you a lowdown on my Annapurna base camp trek as well, so you can get some more details on that. But until then, thanks ever so much, everyone, for watching this evening. Like I say, I'll be back in a month's time. There is a really good podcast episode that's come out this week, I've just realized. So please do head over to the podcast, and I'm sure Tom will put a link into the comments now so you can find the podcast. But there's a great episode on the podcast looking at Tanzania. Was one episode we've recently done. And yeah, like there's so much stuff on the podcast. There's like over 100 episodes of the podcast where we cover all of our destinations. So if any trip tickles your fancy, then there is probably an episode for you to listen and find out more information. So please do head over to the podcast and find out more about it. Obviously, we started off with the Annapurna circuit video. As we're talking about Nepal more this month, I'm going to finish with an Everest Base Camp one, so you can see the difference. If you started with us, you saw the Annapurna. If you're finishing with us, you can see the Everest Base Camp one. So here's the other Everest Base Camp, and I will be back next month with another Q&A session. But until then, thanks very much, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.